Davis.
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hollebush.
Here.
Director Brewer is absent. Director Minor is absent. Mayor Brown.
Here. At this time, we'll stand for our invocation, which will be given by Director Terry Roberts. Our Pledge of Allegiance tonight will be led by our City Manager, Mr. Jay Ellington.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, remove anything in us that will cause us to make any rash decisions, and give us the patience to handle big and small situations in all areas that involve Texarkana, Arkansas, and its citizens. Fill us with divine strength that we may always follow you and your leadings. May we take your path that you're showing us, even if it does seem long. Lord, slow us down when we rush, and teach us to make decisions calmly. In Jesus' name we pray and believe. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We apologize for not having any air, but we'll get through our agenda. We do not have a whole lot of business to cover tonight, but we'll get through that as quick as possible. At this time, we will open up the floor for our citizens' communication time. Is there anyone present tonight that wishes to address the board during citizens' communication time? Anyone wish to address the board? Okay, moving right along, we have a proclamation tonight that I will read. A couple of comments I will read about David Baumgartner is every time that I've had any dealings with David, he's certainly been very receptive and done a lot of things for our community, and I've had the opportunity to speak a number of occasions at the Rotary Club. He's always been very inviting, and he's going to be greatly missed in our community with his retirement from LifeNet. And so we felt it appropriate that we issue a proclamation for him. And so at this time, I would like to read that, and then David, I'll present that to you when I get through reading it. So the city of Texarkana, Arkansas, on August the 1st, 2022, whereas on August the 20th of 1998, David Baumgartner was hired as president and CEO of LifeNet, headquartered in Texarkana, Texas, and serving Miller County, Arkansas, Bowie County, portions of Cache, and Red River counties in Texas. And whereas under David's leadership, LifeNet expanded to include Garland and Hot Springs counties in Arkansas, Western Payne County in Oklahoma, and Morris and Cass counties in Texas. And whereas David has been very successful in its management of LifeNet and in navigating the maze of healthcare regulations and reimbursements while providing high-quality EMS care to the citizens of Texarkana, Arkansas. And whereas David has been active in the Wilbur Smith Rotary Club and served on the Texarkana Regional Airport Authority Board, Texarkana Ambulance Association, and the Texarkana Chamber of Commerce, and will be missed both professionally and as a friend by many in Texarkana workforce. And whereas on behalf of the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, I want to express our sincere appreciation to David Baumgartner for his dedication to providing the best EMS service to our citizens, and wish him much happiness as he begins his exciting new chapter in life. Now therefore, I, Alan Brown, Mayor of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, do hereby declare August the 1st, 2022 as David Baumgartner Day in the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, and encourage our citizens to join me in congratulating David on an outstanding career with LifeNet and extending to him and his family our best wishes for happiness and good health in the future. David, if you'll come forward. David, thank you very much for you, sir. We'll take a picture and I'll give you a second. What am I looking at? Give you a chance to say something. Thank you.
Chris, did you want to get a picture? Chris,
Okay.
did you want to get a picture?
Oh, you want to hold him?
Is that your cool out there? Y'all don't move. You got them coming.
You hadn't had your picture taken that many.
Can I
Really
get
have not. Yeah. I know, I'm like you guys, it's hot, or it's warm. And I just want to say thank you. to the mayor and the council. It's been a wonderful 24 years here in Texarkana, and we're not moving, so we'll still be here. You know, life, it's a family. Anytime you do anything like this, it takes a family, from the first responders to the staff to the paramedics and the EMTs. So it's not just me. I kind of accept it on everybody's behalf. So again, thank you so much,
All right.
Mayor
Thank you.
and council. And
David, thank you very much for your service. At this time, we have another presentation tonight. We have the Texarkana Water Utilities Executive Director Gary Smith and our New Gen Strategy Solution concerning water and sewer rates. For those of you that aren't aware, a few weeks ago, the city embarked on this workshop to get a preliminary look at this study that they've done. And certainly it does include a rise in our water rates. And so we felt like it was important to bring this to the public in a form of a presentation that we'll be having to, as a board, to make some decisions in the very near future about water rates in our city. So at that time, Gary, I'll turn it over to you, and
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the board. I appreciate you letting us speak tonight. Before I introduce our New Gen Strategy partners that's done the race today, I just want to highlight a few things out of this report. And some of y'all have heard, and if you bear with me, I'll just go through them really quick that weren't there the other night. In the past several years, we've had to dip into our fund balance to be able to function. And so this rate study set up so, one, we don't dip into our fund balance, and then we have 60 days of reserve is the goal. A large part of the rate study is our capital projects. They are listed in the rate study that you have. I'm just going to highlight some of the bigger ones that we've been trying to target, but we just haven't had the money. One of them is the lead and galvanize. I know Laney and the mayor, several have talked to me. We are looking into the funding. That there's grant money available. EPA's got $15 billion out there. We are trying to tap into some of that, and I feel pretty good that we can get some of it. But we have bought a little time. They've changed the date from October 24, and they haven't set one past that. By October 24, all we have to do is a paper study saying this is the areas we think we're going to have to physically dig up. And then we don't know the deadline yet on the other one, but we are going to have to physically.
Just to clarify that, as far as what portions of the city's part is lead, this doesn't have anything to do with the actual residence homes that's actually lead.
Well, not for the cost, but we have to physically dig it up to know what's between the meter and the residence home.
Okay.
That is state or federally.
And what
mandated.
portion is of the city's connections do we have that are classified lead now?
Well, generally, it's probably going to be the older part of town, downtown, and I think in '86 is when they quit allowing lead
Okay.
in anything. But some of the older houses, where that got tapped on later, might still have it on the tap. So we have to actually dig up the main and physically see what the tap is and turn that in. We have to dig up the line between the meter and the main, and then between the meter and the house.
And the funding you're talking about that is going to be available, is that for the city to help pay the cost of replacing this? This is not cost for residents? There are going to be maybe grant opportunities for residents to apply?
Yeah, they're talking about trying to come up with money there because they realize the residences aren't going to pay. It's going to be an enormous cost. But this money that we're tapping is strictly to dig it up to identify it.
Right.
This first bunch.
So that the city doesn't have to foot that bill. If they don't, we're going to
That's
have
what
to
we're
pay for that
hoping.
bill.
Right now, I have 2.7 million budgeted is what we're guesstimating. But because the downside is downtown, a lot of lines are under the roads. We're going to be tearing up the roads, getting in there, seeing what it is, and then having to come
Okay.
back up.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
But Gary, you did say you're looking at a strategy to subsidize the residents if that's needed for their replacement as well.
Yeah, the last webinar we sat in on, EPA said they are looking at trying to provide funding. They haven't promised anything. They just said they're
Right,
looking at
right.
it. Because especially up in the Northeast, where the majority of everything up there is going to be that lead, they're having a lot of troubles with it. But yes, they said they will look at it to see what funding options they can provide the residences. But right now, we haven't heard anything on it. Just that.
Gary, that 2.7 million is what we approved in the last budget for the water utilities, correct?
No, so we don't have
Into
anything
the-
budgeted.
It's
You
built
said you
into
had-
this
I thought
rate
you said
study.
you had 2.7 million.
No, I'm sorry, in this rate study,
In
one
the
of the
rate
projects,
study,
yeah,
okay.
sorry. We've got it in there for rate studies, and if we can get the grant monies, I know we can't get the whole thing, but I'm pretty sure we can be able to get some of it. And then also included in the study, we've got a 3% raise every year for 5 years in the rate study. And we're putting that in there hoping it can get approved in the last 18 months, we've lost over 20 people leaving Texarkana. Some's gone to Texas side, but going for higher paying jobs for job. Sorry, I got to look at my notes. So we've lost over 20 people in the last 18 months, and just this year alone, we've lost 5 at the water company, because we just don't pay much for our water operators, and they have to have these licenses, for the state, and we get them trained up, they get their license, and then they go out. And so we're hoping by doing this, we can start retraining some of our people. And we've lost a lot more than that. That's just in the last 18 months.
How many years you project we're going to need to do that 3-year increase to bring them to somewhat of an equal, as symmetrical pay?
Yeah,
with the
doing that 3% for the 5 years.
5 years.
Well, that some jobs, some positions, it might get them to the bottom of where people are paying, but I think we can do that with our retirement system that we have. We can maintain those employees. Now, just for a few minutes, if you can bear with me, I got a packet on your desk like this. I just want to highlight a few of these projects, then we'll let Chris and Kim speak. Sorry. This first page, just want to give you a background history when we raised rates. Of course, last year we raised them with y'all. Y'all approved it. In 2019, I believe that 2.8% was for the water rights, but you can just see the history. I just want to give y'all history of what it's looked like in the past, what we've done. This next page, I want to give you an idea of our system. You can see we've got over 2 million feet of water mains just in Texas. And some of those, I think I mentioned before at a board meeting, downtown we found the plans that were put in 1906. And that was just for the plans we could find here. There's older parts when you get closer to the railroad. We've got over 620,000 feet under 6 inch, which is inadequately sized, that we need to bring up to size. Over 1,000 feet of gravity sewer mains. Those are going to be our biggest expense, because most of our trunk mains are all clay pipe. The clay pipe is actually in good shape, but the joints aren't. It's made of that hemp rope, and it's rotted out, so we get infiltration. And most of those in the bigger size are either 4-foot or 6-foot joints. So you can imagine when we got that many feet, there's a lot of infiltration that we get. And I have money in this rate study when you go through the projects. So much for water, so much for sewer every year, just replace them as we can. These next 5 projects, I think, these are projects identified. We had a master plan in 2008, and these are the projects they listed then that needed to be done to maintain the quality, the pressure, the volume that we need to in certain areas. And this first one is coming from Highway 82 at I-49, running a 24-inch main down in front of Cooper, and then to Tennessee Road. It's about 8,500 feet of 24-inch pipe. The estimate on that one is $3.4 million. And that's right there is where Genoa takes off, and it'll help that area in Lakewood to get the water that we need to get in Lakewood. Right now, the way we coordinate it, we actually have the SCADA set up so that us and Genoa don't call water at the same time. And it works out great, but there could always be something go down. This next project that's Boyd Road in 71 up at the top, and it comes down 71 and turns down Black Ferry Road. That's an 8-inch. We need to replace it with 12-inch, about 8,000 feet. And that's just under $2 million. The next side is on Dooley Ferry Road. Dooley Ferry Road, it's a 2-inch and 3-inch line. And I don't know if any of y'all have got any complaints in that area, but we can have areas at times where the pressure gets low. And this is replace it with a 6-inch. That'll take care of everybody out Dooley Ferry Road and in that Mandeville area. And that's roughly $3.3 million. This next slide it's the one that we need to do quick. That 16-inch at Sugar Hill Road in State Line. The Sugar Hill Road, we have 3,000 feet of 16-inch we need to replace. We had 2 leaks there. One of the leaks, the only way we found it is our water plant manager happened to notice our volumes were going up for the time of year it was. You could drive out there. It was right there at the creek bottom, and you couldn't see the leak. And we found it. We estimated about 3 million gallons a day for a little over a month that was going out that leak based on the consumption. Then on State Line, we've got about 2,000 feet of 36-inch line. We had 4 leaks on that one already. One of them was the one that caused a boil order for the whole town, and so we know with the 4 leaks there that line needs to be replaced.
Hey, Gary,
Yes, sir.
the lines that you're showing out in the Dooley Ferry Road, the Mandeville area, is that TW now, or is that the Mandeville?
That's TWU. Yes, sir.
Okay.
We purchased that. That system was purchased before I came. Then the Union was purchased, I think, around 2003.
So in all of this, though, the Mandeville Union, it's all going to be combined?
Yes, sir. And it'll take a few years to get the rate structures all equal. But yes, that's our goal, is to get it all, because now we own everything. It's all TWs, or the cities.
Thank you.
This slide, it's kind of hard to see. I apologize because it's so small, but where I'm pointing to that proposed 500,000 gallon elevated tank, right now, that's just a standpipe. Standpipe's just a tall cylinder for water that supplies the Lakewood area. And in Lakewood, we have over 7,000 people in that area, almost 3,000 households, and all we have is a standpipe. So in the study, of course, it identified we need to put an elevated tank, because our pumps run almost constantly at that booster pump to pump it up to it, and this will save a ton of electricity costs besides fire protection and volume storage. This one is the one that the board did approve. This is a Nix Creek from 18th Street of Arkansas High going down to Hobo Jungle. That's the trunk main. It's in extremely bad shape. The city has gave us $1.74 million, I can't remember the exact number, from the American Rescue Funds. All we're waiting, the plans are done for phase 1, and all we're waiting on is the railroad permit. Everything's ready as soon as we get the permit. And the thing about that, we're laying right beside the existing line, and it's still an act of Congress to get a permit from them. But that project, the actual cost now with today's dollars is about 2.4, we got 1.7, so we'll carry it as far as we can go. And then the next one, sorry, thank you. That's phase 1, the blow up. If you go to the next slide. That's the phase 2, and that's just carrying it on from railroad tracks all the way down to the south side of Hobo Jungle. And it's actually the same, it's about 2.4 million for that second phase. This slide, we have in Arkansas 24 lift stations that have to pump the sewer to get to where it needs to go to the sewer plants. Of those, we only have 4 of them with generators. So we have, I think it's about 850,000 I've got spread out over the 5 years in the study, if y'all approve it, to try to start getting generators at these. If you're on one of the ends that the generator goes out and you got super backed up, that's not going to be good. This is our Millwood plant up at Ashdown. Right now, let me flip over to that. The Millwood plant treats 15 million gallons a day. We can go to 20 on emergency. For winter storm, we had to go 20 million gallons a day. We're one of the few cities in Texas and Arkansas that did not have to go into boil order. But to meet future demand, future growth, we're looking at wanting to expand this. The company I work for actually designed this plant, and it was designed to just mirror it over. The canal, the raw water's right there. You can see it right on the northwest corner of the property. And the treated line, we have a line that goes from Millwood all the way into Texarkana, and it was designed to handle 45 million gallons a day. So we're just proposing for future use to expand this. If you make it, we'd add 20 million gallons a day, it gives 35 million gallons a day at Millwood alone. Granted, I know there's a lot of bonding. Mayor pointed out really that I didn't catch last time, and I know we can't bond everything, but these projects that just, in my opinion, were desperately needed. The cost, just if you bond it just at $47 million per customer, would be $6.17 a month if the board chose to go with that project. This next project, I lost a slide. This is our North Texarkana sewer plant. It's on Sanderson Lane, just it's right before you get to Water Springs Ranch, if you're familiar where that is. Right now, that plant treats just under 1 million gallons a day. And if we got any future growth coming in, we're not to the point yet. I got $3.5 million budgeted. And several of these projects, I forgot to mention, Andy Franks is actually working with us on trying to get some of this grant money still. I'll be presenting a resolution to the board on the next meeting. We're not committed to anything. It's just if he can get it through the state, he just has to have the resolution to send to the state. And if we can get it, and Glenn Spears is also doing, we should kind of split it between the 2 Arkansas firms. So some of these projects we hope to get grant, but nothing's guaranteed. But Andy's trying to get it, and Glenn's going to be trying to get it for us too. And this is one of them. It's $3.5 million to put in a new plant, same thing. Andy Franks is the one who designed this years ago. It's designed just to mirror it over. It'd be it's not cheap, but it's a really quick fix. And that increased our capacity tremendously. We can actually treat 2 million gallons a day, but we're only permitted for 1 million. And we need that's even a 2 million during a rain event, we're pushing.
How much you say we're permitted to?
Million.
Sir?
You say 1 million?
Just it's 0.95 million gallons a day is what we're permitted for at that plant. Yes, sir. This next slide, we have, I think it's over 621 dead ends in Arkansas. Some of them can't be looped, but a lot of them can. We've got money in there because every one of those dead ends we have to flush once a month. In Arkansas, especially in the rural system, we've got automatic flushers out there. We flush, and I can give you the numbers. I didn't have it with me tonight. We flush a tremendous amount of water that just goes on the ground to maintain residuals for the state. Some of them we go after flush. When we flush them, we're checking for residuals. As soon as we get it, we quit flushing. Some of them 5 minutes, 2 minutes. But there's several, when you get out in Union, out Mandel, that we flush for hours every day, and it's just wasted water. Well, if we can loop it, then one, that'll help the residual trouble, because now you got it flowing all the way around. But some of them you can't. Some of them, there's just some dead ends. You're going through swamps, you just can't do it. But we do have money set aside for looping the dead end mains. This last slide, I just wanted to make y'all aware, this is to get sewer to everybody in the city of Texarkana, Arkansas. Just Texarkana, Arkansas alone would be $130 million in today's dollars. And I just wanted y'all in your mind so they'll have it. In Ward 1 is the big part of it to get the sewer. Everything's shaded to blue. I'm sorry, can you just pull it just a little bit? The green is what's served right now in the city. The blue would be what we need to send to the North Texarkana plant, hopefully get expanded if this ever gets served. But that's a big area in the blue. In Ward 6, that's not served. And Ward 3 is in the middle one, and it dips down to some others. That would actually, we'd have to have another plant on the east side of town to take care of that area. And then the Ward 1 would all go to South Region, and that wouldn't be an issue. And that, like I said, is $130 million for that. But that's just FYI for your information. I know it's a lot to throw at you, but I want to kind of highlight some of the projects. That is not in the rate study, the $130 million. Just wanted you to be aware, there's a lot of areas in city limits that does not have sewer. I'll be glad to answer any questions if y'all have any, or I can introduce New Gens and they'll talk about the rate study. Yes, sir.
I noticed you didn't have nothing on here about Wright Patman plant, and there's a reason behind that.
Yeah, Arkansas didn't pay anything. That's all Texas.
Huh?
Arkansas doesn't pay anything to Wright Patman. That's all Texas. It doesn't affect y'all.
But ain't we joint owner of that plant? Or
Sir?
isn't we joint owner of that plant? I know,
I don't think so. Arkansas hasn't paid into it, my understanding, official, right? They're joint owner in Millwood, but I'm not for sure how much y'all have in Texas on the Wright Patman. Lane, I can find that out. I don't know
well,
that.
it's the reason why I stated that. And the last time I stated about that, it wasn't even put in the minutes, but that's whether here or there, because we is so-called part owner of Wright Patman. When I mean Wright Patman, I mean the plant that's on New Boston Road.
Yes, sir.
And it's gonna be ceased to exist in the near future.
Yes, sir.
From what I've been told.
Well, actually, that's not quite, I had to have this talk with Texas side.
Uh-huh.
All that's going to happen is it will not treat water, but we still have to keep it. We have to maintain our lab. We have to maintain the clear wells to meet the TCEQ requirements for storage. So we're still got to keep the high service pumps to pump out of the clear wells to feed Texarkana and pressurize the system. So the only thing shut down will be the treating of the water, but everything else will have to stay in place.
But I also noticed that you're doing more on the Arkansas side for as Millwood plant. And I know at one time, that plant was well enough to, when Millwood, when Wright Patman came off land one time, it was able to sustain both cities for a while. So that's
Yeah,
what I get.
it can't now. Right now, our average demand throughout the year is about 15.5 million gallons a day. During the summer, the peak is 28 million gallons a day. So especially this time of year, we're actually running Millwood now 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, I believe, to help keep up with the demand. Because Wright Patman will only do 18 million gallons a day, so we got to get another 10 during our peak summer times to take up for it.
Well, I'm trying to make a long story short that Millwood will be able to sustain the Texarkana, Arkansas, regardless somewhere down the lane. That's the point I'm trying.
Yes, sir. Actually, I looked into that. Just the Arkansas demand on the Arkansas side only during the peak is about 7.5 million gallons a day, and Millwood's 15 million gallons a day.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So Gary, you're still in the presentation phase. Have you presented this to the Texas side? There's not been any vote on the Texas side on rating?
No, sir. They've got some changes that they're having us look at right now too.
Okay.
Yes, sir. All right. No other questions. I want to introduce, this is Chris Eckert with New Gen Strategies and Solutions. He's going to present the rate study to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. Again, Chris Eckert with New Gen Strategies and Solutions. Pleasure to be with you tonight. Gary has done a great job telling you the what and the why. It's up to me to get to the how. How do we pay for this? What does this mean in terms of rates and customer impact? With that, you have a presentation in front of you. I'm just going to hit some highlights in this presentation to kind of keep things moving along. Last time we were with you, Mary, you talked about a 10-year rate plan, so I'm going to be talking about that a little bit tonight, about what we see beyond the rate study. So I will get to that here in just a moment. But let me get into the presentation on slide 5. Let me stop right here. So again, this is what we are seeing right now with the rate plan as proposed. Again, it is a 3-year phase-in. So we're phasing in over 3 years. There is another increase in year 4, but that's just to make sure that we are maintaining adequate reserves. As Gary said, we want to make sure that we hit that 60-day reserve mark. So that's why you see that little bit of an increase into 26. Everything from 2027 beyond here right now is really a best guess. What we have done is we've escalated that based on the long-term consumer price index for water, sewer, and trash service throughout the nation. That's running at 4.48%. So you can see it tends to level off there. Depending upon what we see in terms of economic conditions, when we get down the road 5 years, this could look completely different. But this is just to give you an idea that if we can get past all of these capital projects, get this implemented, if we just go back to an inflation-adjusted rate, this will moderate. It will level out at some point in the future. But again, what you're looking at on the screen right now is the impact for a 5,000-gallon customer. We use 5,000 gallons. That's your average single-family customer residential use. This is the combined bill that you're looking at here. So again, current $51.93, that's the current bill. Our proposal for 2023 would take that to $59.97. Then you can see the increases from there. When we were with you last time, you did ask to see this chart. What does the total bill look like? If we put water, sewer, but then we also tack on trash service and then the tax associated with these services, you can see the current bill with trash, with tax, $79.96. Again, still using that 5,000-gallon benchmark for single-family residential use. In 2023, taking that to $88.38. That's a monthly increase, an increase in the monthly bill, $8.42. We don't know what the garbage bill is going to do in the future, so we just kept that level in this forecast. But again, you can see what this looks like. We have 3 years of larger increases, then we're able to level beyond that. Again, I don't know what economic conditions are going to look like at that time. Honestly, I really can't even tell you what next month looks like at this point. So this is where we're at in our plan at this time. Let me stop there. Are there any questions in this impact that you see on the screen?
Yes, what's the water calculation for the residents over 5,000? Once they exceed 5,000, what's the calculation?
So again, once you go over 5,000, you have what's called a tiered or conservation-based rate. So the bill goes up more at that point.
Right.
So the more you use, the more you pay.
You
The
don't know
unit
what that
price increases in the future.
You know what the increase is?
I don't know what the exact monthly bill is, but if you look towards the back of your presentation, there are the rate schedules in there, and let me refer you, if I can, to page 14. So in 2023, this is for residential inside city, we maintain the flat rate, but we go to that inclining block rate in 2024. So you can see we begin to tier up at that point there in 2024. So again, I'm on page 14.
Did you happen to do the 5-year, the adjustments for 5 years instead of 3?
We do not have that in this presentation. We had that last time, and I can get that for you again. It was. Over the long term, the 5-year was more, but again, I don't have that in a presentation format for you this evening. We were instructed to look at the 3-year. Yes, sir.
I don't, briefly, if you can refresh my memory, because I left my notes at home on, was it Fort Smith that was having, that the feds came in and took over their water treatment plant?
Well, so there's 2 communities we talked about last time. We talked about Tyler, Texas, and we talked about Fort Smith, Arkansas. Both are under what we call a consent decree by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. What that means is the federal government has come in and said, you are out of compliance. You need to do all of these improvements. And you don't have a choice, regardless of what it costs. So we're going to get to the regional bill comparison here in just a moment and look at some of those communities. The other community I pointed out was Tyler, Texas. The problem is when you're looking at the Tyler bill on the regional bill comparison, you're going to see there at the bottom. But what they've done is the consent decree cost is not in the standard water and wastewater bill. It's a separate surcharge. When you add that surcharge in, they jump to the top of the list. And so that's why you've got to be careful as we compare communities, because it's not necessarily apples to apples. But both those communities were in a situation where they were out of compliance, so you get fined by the federal government or potentially the state government, and then you have to do the improvements anyway. So that's why we focus on these capital improvements and emphasize them so much. We don't want to get into that position. We want to make sure that we are reinvesting in our business, executing on these capital projects ahead of time so that we don't end up in a position where our hands are tied and we basically have to do everything anyway.
Just looking into your crystal ball,
It's a little fuzzy, I'll tell you that.
I know a lot of this, I mean, we should have done 10 years ago, 20 years ago, might have been cheaper on us, but where would we be at right now compared to where Fort Smith is at as far as needing things done immediately? Are we to that level?
I think you're, and again, Gary may be able to speak to this. So this is my crystal ball. I'm not speaking for Gary. I think you're just a few years away from it right now, honestly.
We're at, some areas are getting close. The truck main that the city's giving us, that rescue fund, that's a big one. That's going to be a big, a lot of the stuff north of there backs up, backs out. We have to report any overflow, essentially overflow to the state. When we get there, we clean it up 10 times out, but that one's already made in that state. It's already up packaged and home when we didn't get heavy rains.
So a lot of this is, well, this as a whole would keep us from getting to where Fort Smith is at.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's the plan.
Gotcha.
So again, when you look at infrastructure, and it's not unique to this community, it's throughout the nation. American Society for Professional Engineers goes in and rates these infrastructure. I think they're giving water and wastewater right now either a C- or a D. And that's nationwide. We have not reinvested in our infrastructure like we should. Same comparison, so again, we just looked at residential 5,000 gallons. On the commercial side, you'll recall last time we talked about that it's our opinion that the larger meters on the system should pay more. They place more demand on the system, there's more cost to serve them. So you see commercial, this is a 2-inch meter, 20,000 gallons, more use. But you see what the impact is there, and you see that is a larger increase year over year. When you go in and you tack on the other items on the commercial bill, so again, we've got water, sewer, we also have an administrative fee for backflow prevention, we've got garbage and fire protection service here as well. Current monthly bill, 20,000 gallons of service, 2-inch customer, $505.60. Our proposal under our rate plan here takes that to $556.83. That is a $51 increase a month. So again, those increases are large for the first 3 years. We moderate after that time, after we get into this new rate design where we are charging more for those larger meters. Again, reflecting the impact that they have on our system. Because the impact they have on our system, it drives capital investment. So really this entire rate plan is built around capital investment. Any questions on commercial? So as we get to some charts here, I spoke with you last time about these regional bill comparisons. We have to be careful. These are not apples to apples comparisons. We've got 3 different comparisons here. This is just the minimum charge, the minimum bill right now in the city. That's $26.07. Our proposal for that minimum amount of use, which is just 2,000 gallons a month, that's what's included in the bill. So minimum use, $26.07 going to $29.91. Why do we look at this? Well, ultimately, that minimum level of use, a lot of times that's going to be our fixed income customers. So we want to be cognizant of this. We want to be cognizant of affordability on the system. But as we go forward to our 5,000 gallon comparison, again, currently $51.93. This does not have garbage. This does not have tax. This is just water and sewer that you're looking at here. $51.93, proposing to take that on a combined basis to $59.97. Earlier I spoke about Tyler. Tyler is just right above you on this comparison right now, but again, that does not include that regulatory compliance fee. You look further up at the top, you see Fort Smith, Arkansas up there. That's the impact of that capital investment. Another one of our clients, Paris, Texas, you see them at the top. They are going through a massive capital improvement plan right now. I was just on the phone with them this last week. I understand their cost has gone up millions of dollars just in the past month. So the longer this takes, the longer we go through this capital, we're just seeing this impact on these capital investments. So it's important to execute on them and start moving forward because it does just become more expensive as you move forward. So that's the residential comparison. The commercial comparison, this is looking at commercial rates, again, using that benchmark of a 2-inch meter, 20,000 gallons of service, monthly water and sewer bill, $186.64. There's a jump there going to $234.76, but you can still see, compared to even these other communities, service is very cost effective, even at this level, at this meter size. So again, number of schedules in your presentation. All of the rate schedules are at the back, so happy to answer any questions that you may have. Ultimately looking for guidance, looking for direction. What is it that the board needs to make a decision on a going forward basis?
How do our commercial rates compare to Texarkana, Texas?
So they are, Texarkana, Texas there is towards, they're third from the bottom there. Again, they've not made a decision yet as to what they're going to do going forward. So they are slightly lower.
Is their proposed still lower, or is that more in line with what our proposed would be?
That's a really good question because we're still running numbers. I'm honestly not quite sure where we're at this point.
I think it's in your favor is their customer base is a lot.
Yes, they do have a larger customer
There's a chance
base.
They could be a little less than that just because.
Yeah. Because when you think about it, fixed costs spread over units, you have more units, your rate goes down.
I know that we keep emphasizing that, you know, and I support the 3-year time frame, and I know we keep emphasizing that we need to get this done and all that kind of stuff, but the reality is, my reality is that even if we had all that money today, we can't get all these projects done in a 2 or 3 year period. So we're kind of rolling the dice on what we think the average increase would be. You just said that, what city you just quoted, I don't remember what you said, that they're already spending millions more just in a day. We have a huge building project happening on the Texas side here that's being rebid at the present time, and it's $1 million more than what it was originally bid, and it's cost some rebidding and some other things. So, you know, my take would be that this is the smart thing to do. It's definitely a start, but we may not be able to, the reality would be we may not be able to get all these projects done. We might not have the funding, and there would be a possibility after the 3 years of leveling based on demand and supply, that thing may not level. It may
very
take
true.
more.
Yes, sir.
So,
You're exactly
I mean,
right. It's something that's going to have to be monitored, especially in light of current economic conditions. We don't know if what the Fed is doing right now is going to work, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were discussing appropriating the funds to fix the sewer line, as if we gave you the money today and had somebody lined up to do it, it could be 1.5 years, 2 years before they could even get started on it. So, I mean, those things concern me on down being transparent. It is what it is right now, but this is really, in this environment we're in right now, recovering from a pandemic, is part of the reason why. I hate to keep using that excuse, but the facts are the facts. But it's a start. It's definitely, we're 10 years behind, in my opinion. We should have been addressing this long before now, and it is what it is, but it's definitely a start, but it may not be the end.
Well, again, you're not the only community out there that's going through this. That's why, again, you've got to be careful with these regional bill comparisons because communities are in different spots. And every community is going to be making significant capital investment going forward just to maintain regulatory requirements.
You know, my suggestion would be as we move forward, and this is approved, which if it's not approved, then we go back to a drawing board that doesn't have anything on it. But as we move forward and as this kicks in place, is that we sit down and do some type of study on what our priorities would be with the fundings that we know and lock prices in, do what we can to try to make the most of this money as it begins to reach the citizen that reaches the water company, that we prioritize these and at least get some of the things fixed that we know that will benefit the city in the long run. Any other questions?
At what point in this would we achieve our 60-day reserve?
So the 60-day reserves right now in the plan, we don't fully achieve it until we get to 2026. So again, as you think about the impacts of weather in times when it's dry, hot, dry summer right now, hopefully, revenues will perform better than expected. How do you come out of a drought? It starts raining again, so it comes down and then. So again, it's just our projection right now. We may get there a little sooner, a little bit later, but right now, 2026 is what we're targeting.
But in your projection, we should be able to put money back every year. Our fund balance, we should, until we reach that.
That's the goal until we get to where we need to be, yes. Because again, we as we talked about last time, kind of this idea of triage, right now, we dipped into fund balance this last year. We've got to get rid of that, we got to get current, and then we can start putting back.
Well, Gary, none of this figures into like if we get grant money and stuff like that. So, I mean,
Yeah, we're actively pursuing that. Like I said, July, I would bring.
this is worst case scenario, I
Yes, sir.
guess.
Well, I say that, I had to make a point. If you look in the budget, I don't remember the numbers, how many, 200,000 I had, but we've got a ton of sewer pipe that needs to be replaced. That's just, so.
Sure.
I say that, yes, if we get some of this grant money, it would be nice to move that over to replace these 116-year-old pipes. We've got some major issues that, I agree with Chris, I think just a few years it really could be in trouble.
Understand.
So Gary, how quickly will you get a resolution together for we can get the guy to go to the state, to possibly get some money to
I
take?
have it together, I'll have it at the July 5th meeting, I think. is what it
Okay.
is. I'll be bringing that together.
Okay, good.
And just for everybody's clarification, the time frame for the rate increase to be approved by us and by Texas, or what's the time frame that we would have a ordinance?
So our proposal was that the new rates be effective in October of this year. That would be the first step. That's up to you as a
The
board.
latest we could act would probably be in August to implement all that into the water companies, providing the rate study or providing the rate increase is approved. We would need to do it sometime in August to have all that done in September.
Yes, sir. Texas side said the same thing, that's what they said, they're shooting to have it approved in August.
Any other questions?
Well, I just have one comment. We appreciate your due diligence on giving us the foresight what these capital improvements may cost us in the future while we need to take some type of stand being proactive. Continue to get us the reports we need so we can make the best decision possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, thank you. Appreciate
All
it.
I want to say
Thank
one
you.
thing before we leave.
Yes.
I want y'all to know, we know this ain't a light decision. This is a
Right.
big decision. I don't want you to
Right.
think we're taking it lightly. We're just presenting what we know, but we understand this is a real big decision, and we just
Yes.
appreciate any feedback, anything y'all want to look at, change, whatever. We're here, just let us know. But we want to tell y'all thank you, because I know this is a tough decision to make.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Move right along to the consent agenda. Tonight, we have two items on the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of a regular meeting on June the 6th, and item number 4, to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Rory Stone Construction LLC for the Cook Road Water Line Extension Project. What would be the desire of the board on the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Our last item is the one item we have on the regular agenda is to adopt a resolution authorizing the airport authority to purchase 8 acres of land adjacent to the Texas County Regional Airport. Our airport director, Paul Merlick, is here. Paul?
Well, thank you, everybody. So as you can see, the property in question is a 8-acre lot that is along East 19th Street. The reason that we're very interested in this property is that it adjoins existing airport property and then would act as a bridge to existing Chamber of Commerce property. you can't see it because this is an older picture, but we built a new taxiway for the new terminal building that goes right along that. That will make this a prime real estate for us to go out and market to try to bring in a maintenance, repair, overhaul, or cargo. So that is the section there, and that would then allow us to have that bridge. We are going to be upfronting the cost from our CARES funds, and then I will be bringing at a later point that we are actually working on selling a piece of property that is across Highway 67 from us, that Harvest International Ministries has expressed interest in purchasing. We are getting clearances from the FAA to sell that property, then we will bring it. The funds from that sale will offset this, and so there will be no cost to the cities to purchase this.
Yes, Dr. Harris?
This somewhat, what's the status on the new airport? How would this be affected?
On the new terminal building?
Uh-huh,
or-
right.
So currently, we are waiting for what they call glue lam. They are structural wood beams. The company that does it, they have a mill that is out in Conway, but that specific mill was unable to meet our timeline. And so they're using their mill up in Canada to produce these. They've said they will be on site in August, and then we will be able to put up the roof. We were already going to have a period of time because we have 4 phases to the terminal building, and each one is separately funded by the FAA. So we were waiting for our next phase of funding, which should come in September, and we were going to end up having a small gap where they kind of stop work. So they've been doing some light work with pouring foundations and pouring some concrete that goes onto one of the lower roof areas. They've been doing a lot of the framework, the internal frame, and then they will, as soon as we get these glue lam beams, we already have the insulation and decking material to put up the roof, so we'll be able to start that immediately. If we do get the funding for the next phase, they'll be able to work overlapping, because the one group will be working on the ground floor and doing those finishes while we're still working on that. So we are currently still on track for a summer of 2024 opening date.
And what do you mean is funding for the next phase?
I'm s-
What do you mean by funding for the next phase? That's
So-
somewhat already in the,
Yeah, so the terminal building was broken into 4 phases, so that way each year we would get funding from the FAA.
Oh,
The
okay.
first phase consisted of all the ground prep work and the foundation. The second phase is all the structural steel and the external framing and roof. The third phase is the first floor finishes, and the fourth phase will be the second floor finishes and the jet bridges.
Any other questions for Paul? If not, we would instruct the city attorney to read the resolution.
Whereas the Texas County Airport Authority requests approval to purchase 8 acres of land that will bridge the land currently owned by the Chamber of Commerce and the Airport for Future Aeronautic Development, and whereas funds are available, and whereas the city manager of the airport authority and the director of the airport recommend approval, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the above described purchase is approved, passed and approved this 21st day of June, 2022.
City attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion. Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any other discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes. The resolution passes. So moving right along to Board of Directors commentary, is there any board member that wishes to address the board tonight? All right, city managers report.
Mr. Mayor, board members, just got a couple items for you. One, since we have lost our police chief here recently, I am working on a schedule for looking at how we will replace that position in our structure, and I will be sending you out some notices about how that schedule will work and how soon it will work in the near future. The next one is, we had a workshop that we were trying to get in on the 22nd. We have now had to move that to the 27th. So we're moving from this week to Monday of the next week. Again, still at 3 p.m. in the afternoon.
4 o'clock.
Excuse me, moved it to 4, okay? Thank you, Mayor.
27th at 4.
Yeah, next Tuesday.
Okay.
Monday,
27th,
Monday, next Monday at 4.
that's Monday at 4.
And this will be a workshop to look at the health insurance rates.
This is for the health insurance premium increases that have been passed on to us by the health insurance. The next one is, I wanted to make sure you're aware of the CHIP event taking place at the animal shelter this Saturday. So if you got a pet that you'd like to get a chip stuck in, and so you can always track them and know where they are.
Can you get one so we can track you? Or
What's the cost of that?
is there a cost for that? Because it's free clinic? It's a free chip clinic?
Yes.
Well, after a
They do
certain number.
children as well?
Is that what I read?
It's free up to the first 200.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Been doing that for 20 years.
Yes, so it's free up
It's
to a
like
certain
$20.
amount. That's what our contract with that company is, and then they'll charge after that if we've met that limit.
Jay, is there anything that citizens need to know to bring to do that? Do they need to bring a current rabies vaccination chip or anything to be
Sure,
on
I
that?
don't think there's any requirement, but again, we encourage people to have their dogs registered, dogs or cats registered with the city, and also have a current
Rabies.
rabies on those pets. The last one is, I'm working on, I'm a little bit behind the power curve, but Adam and I are working on some cooling stations in our community that we'll be opening up hopefully later this week with this hot weather. We're using our current system of rec centers and community centers and making those available to the public. So we'll be doing those, and we'll have that notice out probably tomorrow, or if not by Wednesday.
If we
Jay,
don't get the
have
air
you the-
fixed, could we put one in here?
Yeah.
Jay, have some of the bus stops been considered? It was, the citizens that's sitting at the bus stops waiting for transportation. Have anything like that been considered for, like you say, some type of cooling?
I mean, if any of those bus stops are close to these locations, they're welcome, they will be welcome to utilize these cooling stations. But we're using facilities that we have available in the community to try to, and we're even soliciting some of our nonprofit partners in the area as well to try to join with us to make sure we have that scattered around the community as much as we can. And we will try to keep those on any of these days. We will try to reenact maybe on days that temperatures get over 100 degrees. We'll try to make sure we can reactivate those centers during those time periods. And that's all I have for you today, Mayor.
Any other? Yes, sir.
Is there a reason why the workshop is in the conference room? Is there a reason why you moved the workshop in the conference room? Is there a reason why you moved the workshop for the health,
Yes, sir.
insurance?
The air condition in this room will be out for probably all the way through the end of August.
So the board meetings will stay here, or?
Depending on how cool we can keep this room for you. We may-
Any other discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Could you call the roll, please?
Hart,
Yes.
Roberts,
Yes.
Harris,
Yes.
Hollabush,
Yes.
Brewer,
Yes.
Minor. Yes. Brown.
Yes, we're adjourned.
Mayor?